Rachel Carson, Pioneer of Ecology. Chapter 3, beginning on page 15. Writer or Scientist? Rachel entered Pennsylvania College for Women in 1925 during the middle of the Roaring Twenties. At last the war was over. Hymns were raised to the knee for the first time. Businesses were growing. The whole country was in a playful mood, a mood 18-year-old Rachel could not share. It was hard on Rachel, not having the money that the other girls did. It meant she couldn't have lovely new clothes. Even so, she always dressed with care. She wore only a touch of lipstick, and her soft brown hair was held neatly with a barrette. She was slender and attractive, but when classmates invited her along to movies or to go out for sodas that she couldn't afford, Rachel had to make excuses. She felt lucky to be in college at all, and she told herself she was there to learn, not to play. Rachel did everything she could to learn more about writing. She wrote for the student magazine and newspaper. As a reporter, she had to talk to many important people. Rachel found she wasn't shy when she was working. Rachel's English class teacher, Grace Croft, quickly became her favorite. Rachel was one of Miss Croft's favorites, too. It wasn't often that a student came along who showed such a gift for writing and also had the determination to become a writer. Though Rachel had already decided to major in English, she had to take many other courses to earn her college degree. For her music course, she picked violin. She learned to play it well enough to get a B-. Rachel was one of the top 10 students of her class by the end of the first year. In her second year, Rachel had to take a science course. She didn't want to. Though she had always found nature exciting, her high school science classes had been dull. But Rachel found nothing dull about Miss Mary Skinker's biology class. Miss Skinker led many field trips to state parks. Once she took them to a spot where a hillside had been blasted away to make flat space for railroad tracks. With hammers and chisels, the girls split apart the layers of rocks. One dull gray piece broke open in Rachel's hands. Hidden inside was a fossil fish that once swam in an ancient sea. To Rachel's surprise, she found the indoor science work with Miss Skinker exciting too. Cutting open grasshoppers, starfish, and frogs showed Rachel the beautiful plan inside animals. Now and then Rachel took a break from classes and schoolwork, when it didn't cost extra money. She played on field hockey, baseball, and basketball teams. One snowy night she joined a sledding party on the hill by the dorm where she lived. Afterwards, she sang along with her classmates by the dorm fireplace. For a party, Rachel bought a pair of silver dancing slippers. Always worried about her looks, Rachel chose shoes that were too small. They made her feet look nice and tiny, but they hurt. To stretch them, she had to wear the slippers around the dorm for 2 days so they weren't too painful for dancing. The breaks were fun, but first on Rachel's mind were her studies. Her grades in Miss Croft's English class were excellent, so were those in Miss Skinker's biology class. In those days, people thought the arts were the opposite of the sciences. They thought no one could be good in both. Rachel felt she had to choose between the two fields, between two wonderful teachers, and between two careers. I thought I had to be one or the other. It never occurred to me, or apparently to anyone else, that I could combine the two careers. If Rachel switched to biology, there would be no more of Miss Croft's wonderful English classes, no more free time to write. Yet the beauty of science, the world of Mary Skinker, called to her. One stormy night, Rachel sat alone in her dorm room, worrying over her decision. Hoping to calm herself, she reached for a book of poems. Sometimes Rachel wrote poetry, and she had always enjoyed reading it. As the wind howled outside the windows, Rachel turned to Alfred Tennyson's poem, Locksley Hall. The storm and Tennyson's magnificent words wove their spell around Rachel. The hero in the poem doesn't know what to do either. He thinks about running away forever to an island. In the middle of the poem, Rachel stopped, caught by a beautiful line. For the mighty wind arises, roaring seaward, and I go. Exhausted by worry and strain, Rachel read the line over and over. Thunder shook the old dormitory building, the wild beauty of the words, roaring seaward, and I go, echoed in her mind. 30 years later, she said, I can still remember it as that line spoke to something within me, seeming to tell me that my own path led to the sea, and that my own destiny was somehow linked with the sea. Rachel had made up her mind. In the middle of that stormy night, she decided to turn her back on writing forever.